Hello everyone, my name is Katie. I am the Introverted Reader. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well. This video is my wrap up for the month of May. I ended up reading 9 books in the month of May. We're killing it. So yeah, let's just get into it. Let's talk about them. And the first, none of these are in order by the way. The first one that I want to talk about is the one that I read on my Kindle, and that was Destiny of Dragons by TJ Klune. This is the second book in his Tales of Verenia series. It's about this boy called Sam Wilds who is an apprentice to a magician, and it's just really all about him learning about his powers and where he stands in the world and the impact that his gift has on the world, and him sort of coming into his chosen one role in the story. This is a so beautifully written and hilarious LGBTQ fantasy. I really highly recommend that everyone gets onto it. It is not for our younger readers, I'll say that. Please be over the age of 18 when you're reading this series, okay? But I will definitely be carrying on with the rest of the series in the next few months. The next two books that I read were Winter Song and Shadow Song by S.J. Jones. This is a duology about this girl called Liesel, and all her life she has been told stories of the Goblin King and like the underground and like the fairy world and stuff like that. She's never really believed it, but then one day her sister wanders off into the woods and gets taken to the underground by the Goblin King, and Liesel takes it upon herself to go down there and save her sister, and she ends up striking a bargain with the Goblin King to become his bride, and it kind of just goes on from there. I adored the first one of this duology. This was so beautifully dark and just so angsty. It even made me cry at one point. And like, I actually really like the Goblin King. And I don't like a lot of fae type characters in books that I read. I just don't like fairies in general. But this character actually had heart, and like, I really liked him. So I actually very nearly gave this 5 stars, but I actually gave it a 4 out of 5 or 4.5. The next one, Shadow Song, I did not like so much. This one was actually really boring. If I'm being completely honest, it was just like the Goblin King was hardly in it. There wasn't anything happening. It was just really Liesel pottering about feeling sorry for herself and how she can't write music anymore and woe is me, and I just didn't care. At the end I just didn't care, and I actually ended up DNFing it, but what I read I would probably give like 2.5 out of 5 stars. Honestly, had this just been a standalone, I would have been okay. Like, I really don't feel like this was needed at all, but I'm not the author, but I will definitely be reading more of that author's work because both of those books were beautifully written. The next duology that I read was the Shadowscent duology, The Darkest Bloom and Crown of Smoke. This is set in a world, this is a fantasy story, set in a world where scents and perfumes have a lot of power, and it's psyched in with the religion in the world and stuff. Like, each god has like a different scent and whatever. The first one was a reread for me. If you remember, I read it for the first time last year and adored it. So it was a reread in anticipation of reading the second one. I still enjoyed the first one. The first one was beautiful, 5 out of 5. But the second one, I mean, it was still good. It was still as wonderfully written and fast-paced and adventurous and romantic as the first one. But if I'm being completely, there was a lot more political drama in this one, you know, to deal with like the empire as a whole and who should really be in charge and all this stuff. And if I'm being honest, I didn't really I felt the ending was rushed, and I got kind of confused at the end. I didn't really know what was happening or where anybody was, and it was just like, that's it, that's how you're going to end it. It was literally just like, oh, and then this happened, and then we're here, and then goodbye, the end. So I was like, ooh. But I mean, this one was a lot more angsty than this one, I will say, and I will give it points for that. However, again, the ending just overall just let me down a little bit. But 5 out of 5 for this one, and for this one I'll give a solid 3. 3 doesn't mean that I didn't like it, it just means it could have been better. The next book that I read was the finale to a series that I absolutely love and adore, and it was Imagine Me by Tahara Mafi. This is the very last book in the Shatter Me series, and I'm so sad about it. I mean, I am excited to see what other books Tahara Mafi comes out with, because I do want to read more of her books. This one was not the finale that I thought it was going to be. I still read it super, super quick. Don't get me wrong. I flew through it. Like, I got flown through all the others in the series. But I still think perhaps my favourite might be either... Actually, do you know what? I think Ignite Me or Unravel Me might be my favourite. I don't know. We might have to give them a reread. But, I mean, this was good. I still enjoyed it. I still had a good time. But it was not the ending that I thought it was going to be. I still have the novellas to read. I haven't read Kenji's bind up of novellas, and I haven't read Warner's novella yet. I know that him and Adam's novella is bound together, but I don't think I'm going to bother reading Adam's because Adam can choke on a banana. But all in all, I gave Imagine Me 3 or 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I want to talk about that I read in May was, again, another conclusion to a series, and that was Hand on the Wall by Maureen Johnson. I actually listened to this one via audiobook. I listened to this one via audiobook, and I would recommend doing that with this trilogy. Again, this ending was a little bit of a letdown. Why are all the finales letting me down? Like, why is this slowly becoming a pattern? I still enjoyed it. I still really enjoyed the mystery and the whole, like, aspect of that, like the whole murder mystery. But, like, I really felt like I did not really connect with any of the characters. And, like none of the characters, like, stood out to me. Like, even our main character, Stevie, I felt was kind of flat. She didn't really have that much of a personality. Like, she was very dry and sarcastic, and, like, I understand that. Like, write your characters that way all the way you want. But, like, and I did enjoy the whole anxiety rep and stuff like that. There's lots of good representation in here. But, I don't know, I just didn't feel anything for Stevie in the end of it, you know what I mean? I just thought she was very dry and kind of bland. And not really the nicest person. Like, when it came, like, I understand, as someone who doesn't really do well in social interactions, I do try, but, like, she never tried. And I'm like, and she complained a whole lot of times about not having a lot of friends, and I'm like, sweetie. But anyway, that's not the issue of the story here. The main plot of the story was the murder mystery, and I really, really do think that Maureen Johnson did that really, really well. I did enjoy that aspect of it, and the way Stevie's brain works and how she figured the whole thing out. Like, I really, really enjoyed that. But all in all, 3.5 out of 5 stars to Hand on the Wall. The next book that I want to talk about that I actually reviewed this month, it was our Introverted Reader Book Club pick, and that was Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas, or should I say House of Earth and Blood. Crescent City Book 1. Yes, I have a full review of this book on my channel if you want to go and watch that and get more in-depth thoughts. But all in all, I'm conflicted. Didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. I did have some issues. It's basically set in this world called Crescent City, and all sorts of supernatural creatures live in it, and this string of murders starts happening. They all seem to have a pattern, and so yeah, that's really all I can say. I don't really want to give away too much about it, because that's all I knew, and, you know, I just sort of went in almost blind. So yeah, all in all, what rating did I give this? I think I either gave it 4 or a 3.5, but all in all, it was okay. Am I going to continue on with this series? Probably, because I do want to know what happens. And the very last book that I completed in the month of May was Haunting Prince Dracula by Kerry Maniscalco. If you remember, I read Stalking Jack the Ripper, I think last month, I think it was. This is basically a story about this girl called, what's her name? Audrey Rose, and she wants to be a forensic scientist, and obviously given the time that the world is set in right now, it's like the 1800s, and obviously because she's a woman, she is looked down upon quite a lot, and everyone doesn't really take her seriously as a scientist or whatever. This one is set in Transylvania, where Dracula was supposedly from. and I loved this one. I really like this one a lot more than Stalking Jack the Ripper, because my issue with Stalking Jack the Ripper was that it was good, but I felt like we were only scratching the surface, if you know what I mean. I felt like it could have been fleshed out more. This one had so much more to it. Like, it's so dark, like that whole atmosphere. Like what Carrie Maniscalco is doing really well with this series is that she's creating these beautiful, dark, creepy atmospheres, like in London with the Stalking Jack the Ripper, and then in this one with Transylvania. Like this one was a lot creepier than the first one, and I was just hooked all the way through. I really, really loved it. And yeah, I gave this 4 out of 5 stars, and I will be continuing on with the series. That is all the books that I completed. The only book I did manage to complete in the month of May was book 3 in Trials of Apollo. It's over there on my bed. I'm too lazy to go and get it. But yeah, that was the only book I didn't manage to complete. I have started it. I'm listening to it on audiobook. Yeah, I am over 100 pages in, but I'll not get it done obviously because May ends tomorrow. Anyway, those are all the books that I completed in the month of May. Let me know what books you read in the month of May, which ones you liked, which ones you didn't like. Let me know down there. Also in the description box will be my Twitter and my Instagram. Feel free to follow me there. Please feel free to subscribe if you haven't already, and ring the bell for when I upload. And yeah, I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're staying safe. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.